Tonight we are working with hip adduction, so the inner thigh muscles, and they are muscles that pull your leg closer to the midline. They also work to stabilize the standing leg when we move through mid stance and gait. And they also, a lot of them help with internal rotation where the leg bone rolls in. So for tonight, you can see that I have my blanket spread out across my mat. You don't have to do that. I am going to be using my gliders on the blanket. Gliders, if you don't have them, paper plates will work. I have 2 blocks. I think we only need 1 block, but I have 2 blocks. And then I have an elastic small band. This one is medium weight. And then I have a foam roller. So with that, we're going to start lying. We're actually going to, I just had this folded out so that you could see that the way that I have it folded is that it extends through the whole mat. But we are going to, if we have the blanket, we're going to roll it into kind of a small rectangle. So just roll it up. And then we're going to come down and we're going to lie with the blanket right across the bottom of our rib cage. So lie down on your belly with the blanket right across the bottom of your rib cage. You're going to have your foam roller close by. And you're going to roll slightly to the left and prop your knee kind of 45 degrees down from your hip. So it's not straight out from your hip at 90. It's down about halfway. And then we're going to roll on to where our lower rib cage and our upper belly are supported by the blanket. The left leg is straight, toes pointing down, front of the foot on the floor. And I have my head stacked on my hands that are also stacked. And I'm in this position and I'm just breathing. So my knee is propped on, the inside of my knee is propped on the foam roller. And I'm hanging out here just breathing. And I'm starting to notice regions in my hip or my thighs where I feel resistance. I'm not pushing or rolling. I'm just hanging out and trying to let the inside of my thigh kind of relax a little bit. Often when you put the leg in this position, you'll automatically feel, if you have tightness in your inner thighs or your adductor region, you'll feel constriction, tightness, resistance. So use each of your exhales to kind of soften into that resistance. Last week, we talked about the lower back waist area. So the side waist into the low back. You might try to breathe into that region. Then we're going to start to invite movement. So we're just using the knee, pushing down through the knee to kind of roll your inner thighs towards each other. So you feel a shift of your pelvis to the left and then out and then in and then out. So we're not rolling the muscles of the inner thighs. We're more using the knee on the foam roller to shift the pelvis side to side. And the next time you shift the pelvis to the left, start to press your knee and your shin, and if your heel is on the foam roller, into the foam roller. And then take a full breath cycle. So inhaling into the backside waist. Exhaling, maybe pushing down into the foam roller with your shin and your inside knee a little bit more. And then on the next exhale, take it back out. Take 2 full breath cycles in that relaxed position. See if you feel a little bit more space in your inner thigh. And then start to use the knee again to roll the foam roller in and away from you, in and away from you. Feel how that shifts your pelvis. And then the next time you roll it in, stay in, position the knee so it's right on top of the foam roller, the inside of the knee, and then start to push down with the knee, the ankle, and the inside of your shin. So you may feel your inner thigh muscles engage as if you're trying to suck the foam roller in closer by using that motion of pushing the knee and the shin and the ankle into the roller. And then let it go and take a couple of more breaths in that open position. Good. I'm going to roll to the other side. You can just switch by bringing your other knee up, but so that you can see better, I'm going to shift to the other end of the mat. So keeping your right leg on the ground, top of the knee, top of the foot, we're going to shift to our right side to bring our knee and our shin and our ankle onto the foam roller, to rest onto the foam roller, the left leg. And we're just going to start in this kind of frog leg position. You may notice less or more restriction in your inner thigh in this position. So again, using your exhales, just breathing normally, naturally, using your exhales to let go of any tension or resistance you feel in your inner thigh. And then start to roll the roller towards you and push it away by using the inside of your knee. So again, we're not rolling the muscles of the inner thigh here. We are trying to use your adductors to roll the pelvis, front of the pelvis in, back of the pelvis back. And the next time you roll it in, stay there. And just start to push into the knee. Maybe if the ankle's on the foam roller or the inner shin. And inhale into your side waist, the back of your side waist. Exhale, maybe pull in a little bit more. Inhale, push down into the foam roller. And exhale, roll out. And take a few breaths in this open position. And see if you feel a little less resistance in your inner thigh muscles. And then we're going to start to roll it in and out again. As you're rolling the roller towards your body, you're using your inside of your knee to kind of pull it in towards you, and then pull and hold and push down through your knee, your inner shin. And if the ankle's on the foam roller, push down through the ankle. You should feel the muscles of your inner thigh kind of tighten or engage. And take a full breath cycle here, breathing into the side back waist on both sides. And then as you exhale, let it go. And take just a couple of more breaths letting any of the tension go and trying to open up into hopefully more space that you started to create in your inner thighs. And then release that. We're going to roll over onto our backs. You can have your blanket to support your head. We're going to continue to work with the foam roller for a few more things. So I'm going to start with a hip bridge. We're going to bring the foam roller between the thighs, close to the knees. We're going to take our feet wider than normal. So maybe your feet are as far as mat distance apart. Hands down beside your hips. You're going to press down through your feet and lift your hips off the floor. Then you're going to start to roll the foam roller between your thighs. So just get used to this motion. Maybe you bring your hands to the outsides of your pelvis where your hip bones are and minimize how much you push the hips side to side and think more of trying to roll one knee forward as the other knee rolls back and then switch. So the next time you push your right knee forward, stay there. And then start to push your right thigh more into the foam roller and bring your left knee towards your left pelvis more. You will feel the hips shift slightly, but feel if you can squeeze the roller together a little bit more rather than pushing the hips off to the side. Good. Now switch, glide the left knee further forward like it's gliding out over your left toes and start to squeeze the foam roller between your knees. Good. Do a couple of more, just side to side, pushing one knee over the toe as you suck the hip bone, leg bone into the hip, and then switch. And then drop your knees to the floor. Keep the foam roller between your thighs. Hands at the bottom of your rib cage. Inhale into your lower belly. As you exhale, blow out through your lips. So create tension in your lower belly and move the knees over your hips. Take your hands out, T to the body. Lower back is slightly off the floor, like a centimeter off the floor. As you twist or drop both of your knees towards the right, you're going to shift the left knee forward as you suck the right knee into the hip socket and then push the inner thighs into the roller. As you roll back to center, even out the fronts of your knees and then shift the knees to the left, pause, and then shift the right knee so it tracks out in front of your left knee and squeeze the roller between your thighs. As you come back to center, even out the tops. First, twist to the right, and then shift left knee further forward, then right knee, squeeze. Even out in the center. Exhale, twist to the left, shift right hip so it tracks forward of the left knee, squeeze. As you roll back, center the knees. So keep this and make each movement its own movement. So we shift one knee forward. The knee that's on the top is forward, then we squeeze. As we roll back, we center the kneecaps, the fronts of the kneecaps. Good. One more time to the left. Good. Bring the feet back down to the floor. Remove the foam roller. Let both of your knees open to the right or fall to the right. Open your inner right thigh. And shift through center. Drop both knees to the left. Let your inner left thigh open. I'm going to try these two things again. And hopefully you're starting to feel that some of this action of shifting one knee forward, that is the adductors. That is your inner thigh muscles. If nothing else, squeezing the foam roller between your knees will engage your adductors. So feet, again, are about mat distance apart, so they're wider than usual. Hands down beside your hips. Go ahead and lift your hips into a hip bridge. And then reach your right knee out over your right toes as you suck the left leg into the hip socket. And then switch. So you're basically trying to roll the foam roller between your thighs. And you'll feel the inner thigh muscles have to kind of go up into that inner groin to make that happen. That's adduction with a little internal rotation. Good. Lower down. Keep the foam roller between your knees, arms out, T to the body. Engage your lower abdominal region to lift your knees above your hips. Rotate your lower body to the right. And then shift left knee in front of right knee. Squeeze, roll back. As you take the knees to the left, let your right knee shift forward. Roll through center. As you take the knees to the right, let your left knee shift forward. So that bottom knee, the knee that's closest to the floor, has to squeeze the foam roller into the top one so you don't lose it. So that's the leg that's working extra hard in internal rotation and adduction. Good. After you've completed your last one to the left, release and just windshield wiper your knees side to side. Good. Either roll up or roll to the side and roll up. We're going to go ahead and roll the blanket out if you have one. If you don't, and you want to use your floor to glide on, you can go ahead and be on the floor. We are going to be on our knees for some of this, so sometimes having that extra blanket underneath can be more comfortable. Have both gliders. And have your band close by and a block close by towards the top edge of your mat. We're going to bring both of our knees onto one of the gliders. And we're going to start in the easiest position from which to do frog. So I am going to turn around and face this way so that you can see from the backside. My shins are staying, or my heels are staying in line with my knees. I'm not working with my toes in. I'm trying to keep my shins as much to my knees. And then I'm going to come down onto my elbows. And from my elbows, I'm going to take my knees as wide as they can and pause. And again, from the backside, it looks like this. And your flexibility may be completely different than my flexibility. My spine is nice and long, so I'm not rounded through my spine and I'm not dropped in my spine. I'm using my forearms, pushing them down into the ground, pushing my chest away from the floor. And then start to imagine that you're going to bring your knees together. You're going to slide them together, but don't. So create resistance in adduction. And hold here. We're still not rounding through our spine. We're creating all of that sucking in movement by pushing the knees down into the gliders as if you were going to pull the legs back together, and then let them go the opposite way again. Maybe you have a little bit more space, maybe not. Good. One more time, start to pull in. And then this time, allow the knees to come all the way in. And we're going to glide open and closed in this elbow down position a few times. And after you've glided on the elbows a couple of times, maybe you lift up to your hands. So we're feeling the knees push down and out, and then pull down and in. And then maybe you lift up all the way onto your knees and go out and in. And you may find one works a little bit more coordinated than the other. I'm still allowing my shins to go out with my knees. Good. Take a pause. Remove the glider from underneath your right knee, or your left knee, sorry, your left knee. Hands to the floor, do a few cat-cows. And now we're going to start to isolate just the adductors. Well, we are going to isolate both adductors, but in different ways. So you're going to keep your right knee on the glider. If it's more comfortable for you to have elbows down because of wrist discomfort, you can do that. Or you can prop blocks underneath your elbows if you don't want to be that low, or you can be on your hands. So we're going to walk out as far out as we can with this right knee on the glider. So allow the right knee to slide all the way out to the right, and then push down through the glider to drag it back in. Walk back in. Two more like that. Walk it out. Push down and let that bring you back in. One more. Push down through your right knee. Go out as wide as you can. Push down and let the sensation inside the inner thighs pull you back down. Rise up onto your knees. Go out as far as you can with the right. Find inner thighs come together to lift you back up. One more time, or two more times like this. And you'll notice that it's not just one of the adductors. One is moving while one is stationary, but they both have to work to create that inner movement of the thighs in. Good. We're going to lie down on our left side. You can have a block here for your head for later. The glider is still going to be there for your right foot. We're going to take the resistance loop around both of your feet where it hits in the arch. The bottom leg, the left leg, is at 90 degrees. It's bent at 90 degrees, so the knee is right in line with your hip. And the top leg shoots straight out from your right hip. And then we're going to push the foot down and up. So the inner edge of your foot pushes down into the glider, and I'm lifting up onto my hand and back down to my elbow. Push down, lift up, reach the foot down, reach the foot up. Good. Reach that leg as far out of your hip socket as you can, and then hover the leg above the floor a few inches. and pulse it. So with this leg now hovering, we have to use this left adductor in order to stabilize the pelvis on top. So you may feel that now the work has shifted into this left inner groin. Good. Bring that foot down. And we're going to switch. So the bottom leg, the left leg, is now going to go straight. The arch of your right foot is supporting the band. And your toes are long. So be careful not to grip with your toes. Instead, think of rolling your right arch down towards the floor, keeping the ball of your big toe and inner heel to the ground. You have an option to stay up on your elbow, or you can lower down, head on the block. And the bottom leg now is going to lift. So left leg lifts up and down. And you'll notice, obviously, that adductor, that inner thigh muscle, is lifting the lower leg. But you're also, if you are not gripping with your right toes, you're also using the right inner thigh to keep that arch, the band on the arch. Hold, and then start to stretch your left leg, your bottom leg, back towards the wall behind you, with it hovered about 2 to 3 inches off the floor. Good. Release that. You're going to bring your left leg forward and take your right leg out to the side. So this is a variation of pigeon, kind of, but the left leg is out to the side. So we're getting that nice stretch in our adductors, and you can go forward out over your left inner thigh. You might point and flex your right ankle. So the inner edge of the foot kind of scrapes along the floor. Awesome. Let's go to the other side. So we're going to start in that tall kneeling position. The glider is now underneath your left knee. You're standing tall on your right knee. Hands start on the floor. Let's just do a few cycles getting used to that movement with the hands on the floor, crawling in and out as the leg goes in and out. And then when you feel like you might want to try coming upright, you can come to tall kneeling, hands on your hips, glide all the way out, push both knees down, and drag the left knee back in. Squeeze. Good. You want to find as much stability in the spine and core as possible. What you might find is that you want to lean to pull. Try to resist that. So staying upright, using the inner thigh muscles instead. Good. Take that glider off to the left side of your mat. Take your band, place it around the arches of your feet. And we're going to come down first onto our right elbow. Right knee is in line with your right hip, and it's bent at 90 degrees. You're going to stretch the top leg, the left leg, long. Make sure hips are stacked. And as you push the foot down towards that other end of the mat, you're going to lift up onto your hands and push hard through the inner edge of your foot. So almost as if when you're pushing through the inner edge of your foot, it moves your inner thigh towards the floor as you come up onto your hand. And I'm not really pushing through my hands to lift up. I'm pushing through my foot. And because this leg reaches down so much, it lifts me off the floor. Good. Push and hold. And then hover that foot off the ground. Hovering the foot off the ground, you'll feel it switch into your inner right groin. So hips stay stacked. And you're hovering, lifting the whole edge of the foot. So notice if you're lifting more with the toes, can you lift just as much with the heel as you are with your toes? Good. Bring it down and we'll switch which foot is up and which foot is down. So now the right leg is long. The left foot crosses over. And notice how that arch wants to pull towards the foot, push down through the ball of your big toe and inner heel, like you're trying to keep the arch close to the floor. You might lower down, head on a block, and lift and lower the bottom leg, the right leg. So both inner thighs should be working. If you are curling the toes on your left foot, or you're letting the ball knuckle of your left big toe lift off the floor, you're missing that inner groin area on your top leg. You're still getting the bottom leg, which is awesome, but you're missing the top leg. And I have a hard time on it's my right foot, it would be your left foot, lift. And now start to take that leg back and forth. So you're pulsing the bottom leg back and forth towards the wall behind you. Good. Feeling those inner thigh muscles, hopefully. And release. We're going to remove the bands. Bring the right knee forward, the left leg back out to the side. We're going to go into that, I don't know what else to call it, but side pigeon. So letting your inner foot push down towards the floor, toes point towards the long edge of your mat, releasing your belly out over your right inner thigh, and releasing the inner left thigh towards the floor. Awesome. So those first few adductor exercises, we were not on our knees. So if being on your knees is uncomfortable, you can repeat that cycle as we progress up onto our knees. So we'll go back to the right side. So take the slider off to the right side and have both of your blocks kind of at the ends of the front edge of your mat. We're going to start with the left hand on the block at medium height and the right foot on the glider. So kind of a gate position. And then you'll start to push that foot out and back in. So first, we're keeping the right waist long. We're just kind of opening up into both of our adductors in this tall kneeling position with legs straight. The foot is pushing down into the glider the whole time. So we're not just sliding, we're sliding actively. The foot pushes down. You might bring the block up to a higher level and closer to your knee. And you're still gliding in and out. Toes are facing the long edge of the mat. And then to progress, you'll come upright. So in this upright position, keep your shoulder over your hip as you glide the foot out and in. So there's going to be a tendency to want to lean and do this. It's not bad. It just doesn't load the adductors the way that they could be loaded in this position of staying upright. We're going to start to add another movement on. So the next time you glide in, bend your right knee, glide the heel in towards your left knee, and push the knee out over the toe. Come up, keep the shoulder over your hip, straighten the leg, glide out, glide back in. I'm going to scoot down, I'm at the edge of my mat. And then shift and push it back out. So straightening the leg, toe facing long edge of the mat, go out as far as you can, push down through the foot to glide back in, switch the knee, push the knee out. We're going to add another movement. So glide out, pull back in, bend the knee, push the knee out, glide back, straighten the leg, shift the hips back. Hands can either come to the floor or they can stay at your heart. Glide out, pull it back in, bend the knee, push the knee over the toe, glide back out, straighten the leg, hinge the hip back. Yes, you can, if you have that blanket and it's hard on your knees, you can double over the blanket or double over your mat, whatever you need underneath your knees to find a little bit more cushion. Let's do one more of those combos. So glide straight out, glide back in, bend the knee, push the knee out over the toe, come out, straighten the leg, shift the hips back. Good. And we're going to turn to face this front knee. So it's your right knee. You're still kneeling on your left knee. Come on to the ball of your right toes. Lean back slightly. Bring your hand to your outer left hip and start to tap your right foot off the ground. As you do, what you don't want to feel is this left hip push out into your hand. So now we're using that inner stability of your adductors and your outer hip adductors in order to stand tall, to balance on that knee. Bring the right foot back down to the ground. Tuck your left toes under. Shift forward. Straighten the back leg. And then turn that foot down and turn the other foot down. You're going to grab both of your blocks at the highest level. Take your feet wide. Toes face the long edge of the mat. Bend the left knee. Stay low, bend the right knee. So you're staying low. I'll show it from the back side as well. You're staying low as you shift side to side. So instead of coming up to center and lowering down, can you stay low and push through the inner edge of one foot to shift the hips to the other side? Now straighten both legs and drop one inner thigh towards the floor as you shift your hips to one side. And then both legs stay straight, shift the pelvis to the other side by pushing the arch down. So let's say Left arch pushes down, hip shift to the right. Right arch pushes down, hip shift to the left. And do that a few times. And this move feels like it should be really easy. And it's really easy for me in my left hip. But this is where I notice my right arch, adduction, pelvis, miscommunication, misfiring. Good. Heel toe the legs back in. And we're going to come back to the knees and repeat it on the other side. So now we have, if you want to roll up the blanket so that it can be under your right knee with a lot of padding, you can have that. Glider underneath your left foot, hand to the block. And first, we're just getting that movement of pushing out and in. So inner edge of your foot, of your left foot, is pushing down into the glider as it goes further away from you and then pulls in. So we're pushing and pulling. And we're using the same muscles to do both. Maybe the block comes to a higher level. Maybe you come to that upright. I have to fix my blanket down here so it can actually go out. And as you go out, you're trying to stay upright. So resist that lean and instead let the body stay upright and work at going in and out. And we're going to start to add the other movement. So the next time you pull in, bring the knee in, heel in line with your right knee. Bring the knee out over your toe. Good. Straighten and roll out. Pull in, bend the knee out over toe. Push through the foot to come up and then straighten. Good. Bend, knee out. Last time without the addition. Good. Bend. So we're going to add the other part. So straighten the leg, go out, come back in, bend the knee out. Good. Straighten, hinge the right hip back. Come upright. Push the leg out. Come back in, bend the knee. Push the knee out over the toe. Come up. Straighten the leg, hinge back. One more time through this rotation. Toes continue to face the long edge, push the leg out, come back, bend the knee, push the knee out. Good. Straighten the leg, hinge back. Good. Take both blocks off to the long edge of your mat and then kick your right foot behind you as you turn to face the left leg. We're going to come on to the ball of our left foot and the toes point back on the right leg. So strong in your hips, maybe lean back a little bit. Right hand on the outside of the right hip. Start to tap by lifting the left knee. And notice if you feel the hip under your right hand, move it all. You want minimal movement. So you want your inner and outer thigh muscles to work on stabilizing the leg inside the hip socket. One more. Hold as long as you can. And then foot down. Shift forward into your left foot. Tuck your right toes under, kind of like you're doing that airplane or Superman. Straighten the back leg. Turn to face the long edge of your mat Both hands come to your tall blocks. Toes face the long edge of your mat. Bend one knee and shift to the other. So if you are unable, I'm going to go ahead and remove my blanket because we're done with that. If you are unable to stay low and shift side to side, you can come up with both legs straight and then bend one knee to shift to the other side. But if you're able to stay low and have a moment where both knees are bent in that middle range, do that. And then straighten both legs. Drop your right arch to the floor, shift your hips to the left. Push your left arch to the floor, shift both hips to the right. Keep doing that. So really pushing the big toe mount, inner toe mount, and arch down. Feel that stretch in your inner thigh and use that to shift the hips to the other side. Start to heel toe your legs in. Bend the knees and roll up. Take one block and place it off towards the front edge of your mat. Take the other block and place it between your inner thighs and come to the back of your mat. You're going to walk your feet as close together as the block will allow you to. And imagine the block like a piece of Pez candy, and you're trying to roll the block with your inner thighs so that it goes out the back of your thighs. Inhale, reach your arms over your head. Pez your block and fold. Knees can bend if needed. And then walk forward into downward facing dog. Bend your knees deeply. Pez the block. And start to use your inner thighs to move towards straightening your legs. Then bend them deep again. Pez to try to move towards straight. Do that a couple of times. So bending deeply, squeezing and rolling the inner thigh muscles to push the block out towards the back of your thighs. Walk forward to plank and do the same thing. So slight knee bend and then pez to lift the hips. Drop the knees to the floor. Reach the elbows back towards the hip and roll down onto your belly. Pez the block or squeeze the block and lift the head and chest away from the floor. Lower. Squeeze the block and come to hands and knees. Tuck the toes. Hover the knees off the floor. And pez. Straighten the legs, downward facing dog. Walk the hands back towards your feet. Squeeze the block, knees bent, roll up. Remove the block. So take your block and place it at the top edge of the right side of your mat. And we're going to stand on the block. You're going to stand on the block with your right foot. And you're going to hover your left foot off the floor. Hands onto either side of your pelvis. First, start to push your right hip into your hand and feel how it gets short on the inside of your thighs. And then you're going to go the opposite. And as if you were going to kiss your thighs together by pulling the right hip in. So you're going to pop it out, pull it in. pop it out, pull it in. And when I pull it in, both my inner thighs come together. So that's adduction and abduction working together to help to stabilize the pelvis. Good. Go ahead and bring the left foot down and start to walk that left foot out. So now we still have our right foot on the block. Left foot is off the block. We're going to bend our right knee, so the knee of the foot that's on the block, and you're going to come into kind of that Cossack squat. And then you're going to straighten and push through the inner edge of your foot. So do this a couple of times. Bend, hips go back, push into the inner edge of your foot, straighten the leg. Bend, push, bend, push. And we have a progression here. So the one thing I'll ask is if you try to do the progression, just make sure you take your time and spot the block each time. So the next time you go up, you can balance. Oops, sorry, that's right. That leg lifts. So you might have to walk a little closer to your block. So go into that squat and then hover. Bend the knee, catch the block. So spot it. Each time you land, spot the block. So now we're asking the other leg to stabilize in the inner thigh. When you do this, resist leaning. Can you stay upright? So the spine stretches long. Each time you lift off. Good. One more, hold, and tap the foot. So maybe this left arm comes up to help you resist leaning to the left. Good. Take both legs wide. Bend the knees. Roll down, legs straight. Maybe shift side to side if that feels good. Maybe just stay with both legs straight. Keep the legs long, bend the knees, hands to the hips, stand up. Move the block off to your left side of your mat. We're going to come to stand with our left foot on the block. First, get your balance. Left hand on the outside of the left hip. Right foot is hovering. We're going to push the hip out into our hand and then suck it out of the hand. Push it out, suck it out. And you'll feel that, yes, your outer hip muscles are working, but you should also feel the inner. And if you don't, it may be that you're tilting. So try to get long, crown of the head towards the sky as you suck the hip out of your hand. One more. Good. Come off. Start with a wide stance. The foot on the block is the side we're lunging towards. So it's that side lunge. Push inner edge of your foot into the block to straighten that leg. And keep pushing down the whole time. Right through that inner seam of your leggings. So this is the first variation. And you can feel, especially if you think that you're trying to almost push the block away from you as you stand, you should feel your inner thigh. The progression is to come a little closer with your right foot, go into that same side lunge, and then start to hover the left foot off the block. Notice if you're leaning, and instead try to get upright with your spine each time you come to stand on the right leg. Couple more. Pushing away with the foot on the block, stabilizing and hold. Come upright, and maybe you tap and lower. Notice if you're leaning to the right, and almost resist yourself to the left. Good. Step your feet wide. Again, wide leg forward fold, knees bent. Either shift side to side or stay straight. Shift to the right and reach the right arm up, so twist. Stretch through your left inner thigh. Both hands to the ground, shift and bend. Left knee, straighten right. Lift left hand towards this guy. Good. Both hands to the ground. Bend both knees, keep the spine long, hands to the waist, lift up. We're going to go ahead and remove the mat out of the way. You can also move the blocks out of the way. So I have a chair here. You can also use a wall. I prefer the chair, and I have the chair up against the wall so it doesn't tip over. So I would suggest that either use the wall or make sure you have your chair against the wall. We're going to bring our right hand to the chair and come into kind of a side plank on the chair. Your left foot is going to stay on the floor. And you're rolling your arch down towards the floor. We're going to take the right leg behind us like a curtsy squat, and then stand up, bring the knee to the chest. So curtsy squat, push the arch down, lift up. So we're really paying attention to the foot that's on the floor, that remains on the floor. And we're trying to come into that side plank by pushing the inner edge of your foot down into the floor so that this whole left side of your body makes a straight line. One more. Hold. Straighten the left leg out, or right leg out in front of you. Good. Release. Take one of your gliders. Put it under your left foot. And of course, we're doing this. Right leg stays stationary. Left leg goes out. Push down to drag it back in. So it's going straight out to the side. Push down to come back in. Try to only go as far out as you can pull it back in. But try not to lean towards your right leg. You can lean forward, or you can stay upright. That's a little bit more challenging. Good. Get the other side done, and then we'll stretch. So make sure the chair is on a wall so it doesn't tilt. Stand far away from the chair. I'm actually going to use my rack because I can't go to the wall. So we're standing on the right leg. We're going to curtsy squat. and then lift the knee forward. So the right knee is pointing out over the second and third toe. We're pushing the arch down towards the floor as we lift the left knee forward. Next time, hold. Straighten the leg, find a straight line from heel to hip to shoulder. Maybe straighten the left leg forward. Good. And finish up, gliding with your right foot on the glider. And it's active. So we are thinking of pushing through the edge of that foot that glides out to squeeze it back in. Let's do 4 more. 3, 2, and 1. Good. Remove the glider. We're going to come down onto our floor and come into your regular child's pose. So let the knees go as wide as possible. Crawl first the elbows down to the ground and just shift your hips side to side. So let the pelvis roll on the leg bones as you shift the hips side to side. Walk up, bring both legs through and take your legs wide into a V. Point and flex the ankles. Take your thumbs on the inseam of your pants and just allow yourself to start to hinge forward and point and flex your ankles. Maybe you go a little further forward. Point and flex your ankles. Walk the hands up. Roll your inner right thigh towards the ground as you crawl your hands to the left side of your body. And just roll the right leg in and out. And then crawl back through center. Roll to the inside of your left thigh as you crawl your hands to the outside of the right thigh. And let that leg roll in and out, as is comfortable. Come back to center, bring the soles of your feet together, and let the knees fall towards the floor. So adduction, tightness in these adductors often is what makes this pose look more like this rather than legs relaxing down to the ground. So if that is something that is typically tight for you, just notice if maybe you feel like your knees are a little closer to the floor. You can always hinge forward or roll forward. And just pause for a breath. And bring the knees together. And this concludes our push-pull adductor class. So hopefully you found this insightful, helpful, all the things. I'd love to hear your feedback.